commander of the Jewish legions during the Gallipoli and Palestine campaigns during the last war, cavalry commander of the Boer War, is Colonel John Henry Patterson, DSO, close friend of the late Theodore Roosevelt. Colonel John H. Patterson gives this opinion of the Jew as a soldier.
I think there is excellent material in the Jew as a soldier, more especially in these days when personal initiative counts for so much. I think there is no man more fitted for an airman than a Jew. He has many special air qualifications.
The ashes of a swashbuckling hero of the British Empire are to be reburied in Israel after a service attended by the country's Prime Minister. John Henry Patterson was a soldier, big game hunter and writer, whose exploits inspired 3 Hollywood movies. The BBC's Kevin Connolly explains why he is so admired in Israel. The man who was to become a hero to the British and to the Israelis was neither British nor Jewish. Like many servants of the Crown in the days of empire, he was an Irishman born in County Longford in 1867 to a Protestant father and Catholic mother. Ireland was then part of the United Kingdom and military service was a popular option for many young Irishmen, partly from a want of other opportunities and partly from a sense of adventure. In Patterson's case we can assume it was the sense of adventure. By 1898 he'd been commissioned to oversee the construction of a railway bridge over a ravine at Tsavo, in Kenya, but found work was being held up by 2 man-eating lions who were terrorizing the huge camps housing the Indian and African laborers. It's hard to be sure, but the 2 lions between them may have killed more than 100 people in all. Patterson wasn't an expert on lions, although he'd shot tigers on military service in India, but to protect his workers and get his bridge finished he resolved to kill the predators. Man-eating behavior isn't common among lions. It's possible that the 2 killers at Tsavo had got the taste for human flesh from the careless disposal of human remains over the years. Over a 3-week period Patterson killed both the predators. His workers, who'd been growing fractious, presented him with an inscribed drinking cup to salute his extraordinary nerve. It remained one of his most treasured possessions. Patterson told the whole story in his best-selling book, The Man-Eaters of Tsavo. The book has inspired no fewer than 3 Hollywood movies: Bwana Devil, 1952, The Killers of Kilimanjaro, 1959, and The Ghost and the Darkness, 1996. The American Hunter Remington, played by Michael Douglas, who appears in The Ghost and the Darkness, is a pure invention. In real life our Irish hero did it all himself. The lions to some extent are the stars of the story and they were exceptional creatures. These animals measured 9 feet, 2.7 meters, from the nose to the tip of the tail, and after they'd been shot each of them required a team of 8 men to carry them back to the camp. The stuffed carcasses are in the Field Museum in Chicago, but the taxidermist's art has apparently somewhat diminished their impact. According to legend, the original skins had been used as rugs, and so when it was decided to stuff and mount them they came out slightly smaller than they had originally been. Nothing ordinary ever seemed to happen to Patterson. Bwana Devil is generally cited as the first full-color 3D movie made in English, and so is a Hollywood milestone in itself. When you see those old black and white photographs of movie audiences thrilling to the 3D experience in their cardboard spectacles with blue and red plastic lenses, there's a good chance they're watching Patterson in action. The film also deserves to be remembered for a slogan designed to reassure audiences that the coming of startling 3D realism didn't mean the end of old-fashioned romance. Bwana Devil, it said. A lion in your lap, a lover in your arms. Having your life turned into a Hollywood movie isn't always a positive experience. A few years after the events at Tsavo, Patterson was involved in a scandal that made him the talk of big game hunting high society in Africa. On safari, a fellow British soldier, Audley Blythe, died of gunshot wounds in his tent, as ugly rumors swirled that Patterson had been rather too close to Mrs. Blythe, who was also a part of the expedition. At one point it's believed that Patterson threatened to sue Winston Churchill for slander, as the incident became the talk of fashionable London dinner tables. Ernest Hemingway was intrigued enough to fictionalize the story in The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber, and true to form it was eventually turned into yet another movie, The Macomber Affair, 1947. Big game hunting is no longer fashionable, of course, but it's worth remembering that hunters tended to see themselves not as despoilers of the natural environment of Africa but as experts in it. Patterson shot an eland in 1906 and had the head mounted. He thought it had some unusual characteristics, and when it was eventually seen by a member of faculty at the British Museum in London, it turned out to be a sort of unique subspecies that to this day bears Patterson's name, Taurotrigosaurix pattersonianus. There was nothing honorary about Lieutenant Col Patterson's military rank. He served with distinction in a British cavalry regiment during the Boer War in South Africa, winning the Distinguished Service Order, and when he was recalled to the colours during World War I he was almost 50 years old. It was during the Middle East campaign that he found himself in command of the Zion Mule Corps, a group of Jewish volunteers eager to serve the international cause and to advance their own cause of creating a Jewish state at the same time. Patterson became a passionate supporter of Zionism, and the ranks of the detachment he commanded included influential heroes of the cause, including Zeph J. Botansky and Joseph Trumpelder. Line: Vladimir Zeph J. Botansky, 1880–1940. Zionist leader, journalist and orator born in Odessa. He founded the militant Zionist revisionist movement that played an important role in the establishment of the State of Israel. Convinced the British government to allow military participation by Jewish refugees from the Ottoman Empire during World War I. Joseph Trumpelder, 1880–1920. Zionist pioneer and former hero of the Tsarist army, born in Russia. Died at the Tel Hai, Talha in Arabic, former settlement in 1920, in an early battle of the Arab-Israeli conflict. Patterson took his Jewish volunteers to war around the dangerous beaches of Gallipoli in what history remembers as a doomed British effort to attack the German Empire through the territory of its ally, the Turkish Empire. It's often said that Patterson thus became the first commander to lead Jewish forces onto the field of battle for 2 millennia, making him an important figure in the history of Zionism. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told me that his older brother, Jonathan, was named in honor of John Henry Patterson, who had come to know their father when he lived in New York campaigning for the Zionist cause in the mid-1940s. The family still has an engraved goblet given to Jonathan by Patterson to celebrate his birth. Jonathan went on to become an Israeli national hero who died leading the extraordinary raid on Entebbe in Uganda in 1976, in which commandos from Israel's special forces rescued hostages who were being held at an airport by members of the German Baader-Meinhof gang and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Prime Minister Netanyahu told us he regarded Patterson as godfather to the Israeli army as well as the godfather to his brother, and says it's right that Israel should honor him. He's expected to attend the burial of Patterson's ashes on Thursday.